Tuesday night, it is also election night for mayor of New York City. The race, it has been contentious, but frankly, without a ton of drama. Mayor de Blasio, a Democrat in a heavily Democratic city, he holds a huge lead over Republican Nicole Maliotakis. Now, that's according to just about every poll we've seen. Now, today, the New York Times has endorsed de Blasio, saying he deserves a second term due to the strong economy, low crime, and progress on education and affordable housing. But the Times does point out struggles with homelessness and mass transit, and those are huge issues. Now, my next guest, he published a piece in Crain's New York about the mayor. It's called A Tale of Two de Blasios. Andrew recently sat down with the columnist Greg David.
Greg, in your piece in Crain's, you seem to suggest that Bill de Blasio has had a successful first term as mayor of New York, but that he's likely not going to be as successful in his second term. Is that a fair distillation of the thesis?
Yes. Bill de Blasio has delivered for the people who voted for him the first time, the people who feel left out of the great economic expansion and prosperity in New York. But in doing so, he has alienated lots of people. He's actually proven to be inept politically. And as a result, it seems highly unlikely he'll have many successes in the second term.
Want to drill down, if I could, on the first part of that thesis, and we'll get to the second part, because among the accomplishments for de Blasio, you list a rise of the minimum wage going up to $15 an hour, universal pre-K, paid sick time, improved schools, improved graduation rates, a boost in affordable housing, a drop in the crime rate while also dropping stop and frisk. That seems like a pretty hearty list of accomplishments for 4 years in office.
It is, and remember, he came in with tremendous momentum. Many of these were passed early in the administration. He was the one beating the drum for the $15 an hour minimum wage in the city. He passed universal pre-K, and you know what? It's been a big success in the city. Virtually all four-year-olds get free pre-K now in New York City. That's really helped lower income New Yorkers because it's relieved them of important child care costs, and the education experts say has given the kids a big boost. You know, probably the singular accomplishment has to do with crime. He and Police Commissioner James O'Neill have ended stop and frisk for all purposes, and the crime rate has continued to go down.
You also imply in the piece that the mayor got fairly lucky in terms of what he inherited when he took over the job. He inherited a good economy, a budget surplus, and crime rates that were already falling. But those have sustained for the most part throughout his first term. So at what point is it simply the luck that he inherited, and at what point does he get credit for some of those trends?
His predecessors came to office, whether they were Koch or Dinkins or Giuliani or Bloomberg, amid crises where the city's entire future was at stake. De Blasio came into office with a rapidly accelerating economy, a budget surplus, murder rate declining rapidly. Does he get credit for this? Well, mayors deserve some credit for this. The forces that are driving the New York economy go far beyond what the mayor's doing, but at the very least, he hasn't done anything to hurt it. I like to call this the Bloomberg-de Blasio boom.
So let's move on to the potential negatives, the negatives that he's experienced in his first term and that could impact his second. That he is bad with the local media, and we've seen multiple examples of that. He has somewhat grand plans for his own political future. He wanted to be the face of the national progressive movement, and that doesn't seem likely to happen. He also mentioned that, you know, the day he's sworn in for a second term, assuming that he wins, every Democrat in the city will be looking to succeed him in office. So how serious and how concerning for the mayor should those potential negatives be?
Well, I think he should be very concerned. The trouble is he doesn't seem to be. Look, he has just proven to be inept politically. He has alienated potential allies. He has exacerbated his feud with Governor Cuomo, who holds a lot more power than he does. He doesn't have allies in the state legislature. He's completely alienated the local media. He has ruined his national political aspirations by not endorsing Hillary Clinton in what was seen as an act of disloyalty. And he's actually very bad at articulating his policies and following through on a communication strategy. There is universal agreement in New York that the mayor should control the schools, and yet he had to practically beg the legislature to give him another year. I think that's a sign about how politically he is, his standing is very low.
You mentioned in the piece a difference in perspective from those who felt like they had not been included in decision-making process, communities of color and particularly the outer boroughs, versus the people who had generally supported Mayors Giuliani and Bloomberg, who now find themselves with a diminished voice, at least when it comes to the de Blasio administration. How much of this analysis is twofold? Is that he's playing to the two different parts of the city differently, and does he need to bring it all together in order to have a successful second term?
Well, it would be nice if he could bring it together. He seems unable to bring it together. You know, the circles I move in, I'm, an older white man. People say to me all the time, he's the worst mayor ever. I mean, and these are people who are not intimately involved in New York public policy, but live and work in New York. And that, clearly just isn't true. And the reason I think they feel that way is he's not their mayor. But they're not so angry they can do anything about it because the city is thriving. Crime is extraordinarily low. So that's why he's cruising to re-election.
It's a fascinating read and analysis of an interesting mayoral term. Greg David, blogger and columnist for Crain's New York and the Director of Business and Economics Reporting Program at the Graduate School of CUNY. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up next, space-age technology hits the operating rooms, and it's happening in area hospitals right in our region. The pros, the cons, and the incredible machines. We'll get into all that straight ahead.